My sister, 26-year-old female, and I, 25-year-old female, were raised like twins. Our parents always tried to raise us equally, but honestly, it wasn't like that because my sister always needed more of our parents' attention. My sister and I both struggle with ADHD, depression, and anxiety, and we were both obese. We were bullied ruthlessly, and we had nobody but each other. My sister was held back, resulting in us starting high school at the same time. Our parents put us in therapy the summer before high school started and put us on anxiety medication and antidepressants. It all worked for me. I started focusing on my physical health and my diet, and I joined our school's JROTC program. It gave me a lot of confidence and discipline that I think I needed. I also lost about 100 pounds. My sister, on the other hand, would not take her medication. She would go from therapist to therapist, and she said she hated them all. She would only eat fast food chicken nuggets and fries. She was at this point over 300 pounds. She didn't try in school, and when our parents got her a tutor, she would cry and say she was overwhelmed. They never gave up on her. I'd always include her in everything I was doing, and she would just make fun of everything about me, such as my clothes, my music taste, my friends, and my body, calling me anorexic. I still kept including her because I was convinced she just needed to find her way. The bullying kept getting worse, and I eventually stopped talking to her altogether. Our senior year, I got a full scholarship to an out-of-state college. Our parents paid for my sister to attend the local community college. She dropped out after the first semester because she said it was too overwhelming. They tried to get her to just take one class at a time, and she refused. She'd cry when the subject was brought up and accuse our parents of emotional abuse. They wanted her to at least get a job to get her out in the world. She worked at Walmart for 3 months before she was fired for being late almost daily and refusing to do most tasks because she has bad arthritis because she is over 400 pounds now. She hasn't worked since. She got pregnant shortly after and then had her second child a year ago. The fathers aren't involved. She lives with our parents and they support her and my nephews. I have my own place, no kids, and I'm in the tech industry. She still makes fun of me and mocks me anytime I'm near her. Our parents always get on her about it, but she turns on the waterworks as soon as she is held accountable. I ignore her because honestly, I didn't care until this incident occurred. So I was at my parents' for dinner, and my dad asked about my car because it had been acting up. I told him I think I'm just going to get a new one because I've had this one since I was 19. My sister said under her breath, "Must be nice." I tried to ignore her and continued talking to my dad about my plan, and she slammed her hand on the table and started screaming at me about how I think I'm perfect and I have to rub it in her face. She said I don't understand how hard her life is being plus size and a single mother raising boys all alone. I just stared at her because I was shocked. She called me a witch and said I've just been handed everything and it was my fault her life turned out the way it did. She was hysterically crying. This is where I might be the jerk. I started laughing. I literally couldn't contain it, and I asked her if she was serious. She stood up and got in my face and called me a witch again. She said she was dead serious. We were almost touching noses at this point, and I told her that everything that's wrong with her is the product of her own choices, and if she wants someone to blame, she needs to look in the damn mirror. I told my parents sorry, and I left. My sister has been locked in her room since, and she is crying and yelling that she should just unalive herself. My parents are looking into inpatient care, and they told me I should just apologize to her. I thought I was free and clear, but my mom keeps saying I really hurt her feelings, and now I'm second-guessing because I do love my sister, and I don't want anything to happen to her. So should I apologize? Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It sounds like your sister has bipolar and depression, but it's going on unchecked or not being treated because, as you said, she refused to help herself and refused to stay with any therapists and to take any or all of the medicines that were prescribed. And she also sounds spoiled and ungrateful, and your parents are just feeding into it at this point by trying to get you to apologize. Don't let your sister guilt trip you because what you said to her is true. She caused her own problems by refusing help, care, and treatment for her weight and mental health problems that she may or may not have. I mean, I can understand her being insecure about her weight and possibly being frustrated at not having a successful career, But in order to have what you have, she should have seized every opportunity she got to better herself and get into a healthier mindset. There's no doubt that a lot of things are or were overwhelming for her, but that's why she should learn how to overcome and/or deal with them and learn that there's no shame in accepting help. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your parents are experiencing a beast of their own making. They've enabled this nonsense for 26 years, and now they have a 400-pound toddler. They should have nipped the temper tantrums in the bud when she was a kid. Instead, they've apologized and enabled her behavior. She knows if she kicks up a big enough stink, she'll get to be right and get what she wants. If you apologize now, she's right again and will continue the behavior. She's a 26-year-old baby who needs to learn boundaries and behavior. Don't apologize and refuse to be around her until she learns to behave like a human. Her poor kids. Comment 3. Not the idiot. She sounds so exhausting and miserable. Her problems stem from her own laziness and lack of trying in life and not using her brain, and then she's jealous of you and takes it out on you. Wow. Sorry you have to deal with that. Not fair to you. I absolutely would not apologize. I'm sorry she's currently suicidal, but that isn't your fault, and don't blame yourself. She started it and treated you worse than your reply. I feel bad for her kids if she acts that way. How is she taking care of kids if she's locking herself in her room for days, screaming she wants to take her own life? Her poor kids. Now, for the update. Well, hold on to your hats, because the drama has only just begun. First off, I had no intention of apologizing. Why should I? I stood by my principles and didn't let her manipulate me. Or so I thought. 2 days after our argument, I received a frantic call from my mom that my sister was missing. As it turns out, she'd done a runner, leaving a note that she was going to find herself. My parents were devastated. Despite my anger, I couldn't help but feel partially responsible. Her last conversation was with me, after all. Then, a week after her disappearance, the plot thickened. I got a call from an unknown number. It was my sister, and she was in Las Vegas. She was broke, had managed to lose her ID, and had no way to get back home. She was crying, apologizing, asking me to wire her some money. I was torn, but my sister was in trouble and needed my help, so I swallowed my pride and sent her the money. The twist? The next day, my Aunt Monica called. My sister had showed up on her doorstep in Florida, saying she'd hitchhiked her way across the country. My heart dropped. I was pissed. She'd lied to me, used me for money. But then another call came, this time from a Vegas hospital. My sister had been admitted a few days prior, unconscious and severely dehydrated. They'd found my number in her pocket, so my sister was in 2 places at once, Florida with my aunt and in a Vegas hospital. I quickly put 2 and 2 together. The girl on the phone hadn't been my sister. She was an imposter who had somehow gotten hold of my sister's phone. While my family was trying to sort out the mix-up, my sister went into a deep depression. She felt guilty for causing such a mess, and for the first time, acknowledged how her behavior had affected us all. She agreed to start therapy and medication, and even started working on her GED. As for the imposter, I reported the scam to the police, but they couldn't do much without physical evidence. I guess I'll chalk that up to a life lesson. In a twisted way, this whole ordeal brought my family closer together. And my sister? She's actually making an effort to better herself. I've never been more proud. So yeah, that's the update. No apologies given, lessons learned, and a whole lot of drama. I guess life is full of surprises, huh? Now, for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. You did the right thing by reporting the scam to the police, even if they didn't take any action. It's important to take steps to prevent others from falling into the same trap. I'm glad to hear your sister is seeking help for her depression, and it's commendable how you're standing by her side through this. 2. Not the idiot. It's clear that your sister was going through a difficult time and was vulnerable. The imposter took advantage of this situation, which was completely out of your control. It's admirable that your family is coming together and supporting her in her journey to mental health recovery. 3. Not the idiot. The scammer who posed as your sister is the real villain here. It's understandable that you'd be upset, but it's important to remember that you couldn't have known it was a scam. You're doing your part by supporting your sister and her efforts to improve her mental health. Remember to take care of yourself too in this stressful situation. Now, for the next story. I, 15-year-old female, have divorced parents. I spend alternating weeks at each house. I have 2 half-brothers, 10 years old and 9 years old, at my dad's. In the past 2 months, my dad has ordered takeout at least 7 times. We use the same account on a delivery app, so I can look through the past orders and get notifications whenever he orders something. This number is just for those deliveries, so it might be more if he picks up food, they go out to eat, or if he orders something anywhere other than the app. Not a single one of these 7 orders has been during my week at his house. In the last year, he has ordered similarly high amounts of food, but I have only had it at his place once. He says that it's just a coincidence. When I have asked him if we could have something ordered or eat out during my week at his place, he just tells me that I'm free to make something from what's in the fridge and to stop acting like he's made of money. He and my stepmom both make a salary decently above average in our area, but they're definitely not rich. My mom doesn't get takeout at all. She's really big on healthy eating and makes all my meals for me. I make breakfast and lunch for myself at my dad's, and alternate days with my stepmom cooking dinner for everyone. I'm not bothered about not eating takeout with her, so I guess my biggest issue with it at my dad's is feeling so left out rather than the food itself. On Friday, I got to my dad's and noticed a fast food bag on top of the garbage can. I'm not sure why, but I was more upset than usual by it, so I asked again why my dad refused to ever get anything with me around. We started arguing pretty badly, and I ended up implying that he favored my brothers and asked why he even bothered having me at his house when he clearly didn't want me there, which I do understand I shouldn't have done. He's not talking to me at all right now. I'm worried I'm being a brat by being upset about this. I'm a good cook and the fridge is always full. I'm not deprived of food in any way. I do understand that ordering for 5 people is more expensive than for 4, and that it's only my stepmom cooking on my weeks at my mom's, so of course she'll get tired sometimes. And obviously getting into a fight with my dad over it and accusing him of favoritism wasn't right. I wish I hadn't done that. I'm just wondering if I'm the jerk overall for being so unhappy with this, because it's a pretty minuscule issue I'm making a big deal of, but a part of me still feels justified and a bit good about yelling at him over it. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You alternate cooking when you're there? When does your dad cook? Oh, that's right, you're cooking for him. And when you're not there, he orders out to make up for it. Start cooking for yourself and not the family. See what happens. Or font. I think that would blow the lid off the tea kettle. It's not that he's choosing favorites, it's that he's taking the easy way out. All the time. Not the idiot. Always trust your gut. Comment 2. Not the idiot. And accusing him of favoritism isn't wrong. They don't order takeout for you because you are your stepmom's relief from cooking when you're there. Your labor is more valuable to them than your happiness or feelings of inclusion. That sucks, and you deserve better. Like you said, it's not necessarily about the food, but the lack of consideration. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Don't cook for your dad and his family. I would be petty if he said there's food to cook in the fridge. I would make a delicious meal for me. When he asked why I only cooked enough for myself, be like, you said there was food in the fridge for me to cook if I was hungry, so I followed your instructions and cooked for me. Now, for the update, 2 new developments in my takeout situation. The first occurred on my last night at my dad's house. We were prepping dinner, yet another meal from the fridge, when there was an unexpected knock on the door. To my surprise, it was a pizza delivery guy. My dad looked at me, smiled, and admitted he'd ordered my favorite pizza as a surprise for our dinner, explaining that he wanted to make up for the takeout discrepancy. The second development came a few days later at my mom's house. After a long day, she called me into the kitchen and, to my shock, I saw bags from our favorite Chinese takeout place. She admitted that she saw no harm in a little indulgence after a rough day. As for the favoritism issue at my dad's, we had a long talk. I told him I felt left out, and he apologized. He admitted he'd been thoughtless, not realizing how hurtful it could be. He promised to be more considerate going forward. We're also working on a new schedule. Since my brothers enjoy takeout, My dad proposed that we do it on the weekends when we're all together. After all, it was never about the food, but about feeling included and valued. Both my parents seem to understand that now. Things are far from perfect, but it feels like a step in the right direction. I can't control everything, but at least now I don't feel like I'm just an observer in my own life. This whole experience has taught me that sometimes you need to speak up about your feelings, no matter how trivial they might seem to others. Now, for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. It sounds like your father genuinely tried to make amends for the favoritism issue by ordering your favorite pizza, which is a step in the right direction. Also, asserting your feelings is important in any relationship, and it's great that you addressed the issue with your father rather than bottling it up. However, make sure this isn't a one-time thing and that the fair treatment continues. 2. Info. It's great that your parents are making an effort, but I'm curious about how you feel after these gestures. Do you feel like your parents are genuinely trying to make amends, or is it more of an appeasement strategy? Remember, it's not just about the food, but about feeling valued and included in your family. 3. You're the idiot if you don't acknowledge and appreciate your parents' efforts to make things right. They seem to be genuinely trying to make up for their past mistakes, and it's important to acknowledge that. However, continue to communicate your feelings openly to ensure this isn't just a temporary fix. Now, for the next story. I, 52 years old, have been dating Addie, 53 years old, for 3 months. I was super attracted to her nice and friendly behavior and her overall harm-none character. She's divorced from a cheating husband and the mother of 3 children. Addie has a very close friend, Bertha, 50 years old, who is engaged to a very notable business person where we live. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Bertha is very successful. Addie and I attended a friend's get-together. There were about 10, 12 people. Bertha was there. We had such a great time with great food and conversation. At around 6 p.m., we ran out of food and Bertha volunteered to go pick up some pizza. She comes back with 5 boxes of pizza and several bags with soft drinks and beer. Important, everyone gave her money to contribute. She hands Addie part of the goods, and Addie asks for the receipt. Bertha hands her the receipt and Addie gets angry with her. She accused her of skimming the pizza money and that she owed her $5. Addie's face was red, and she looked furious. Another friend asked her to calm down. Bertha looked like a deer in headlights and was very uncomfortable. She explained that she put down an extra $18 to cover the pizza charge, and she had paid for the drinks with her own money. After it was all clarified, Bertha confronted Addie and told her she won't tolerate disrespect and that she's fed up with Addie using her wounded woman status to disrespect people without facing consequences. I tried to get things to calm down, but Bertha left after about 20 minutes, despite the group of friends begging her to stay. This changed the energy of everything. We left early as well. On our way home, I brought this to her attention. She can't go around accusing, insulting, and humiliating her friends. She has always gushed about how Bertha has been such a good friend and even helped her. I never saw her apologize to her friend, and this is concerning. For background, she has always said that Bertha was the one friend who chose Addie over her ex amid her divorce. She got a little testy, but I suggested we go to a park and sit somewhere. Maybe talk this over. She was adamant that she didn't ruin the get-together. I told her losing good friends shouldn't be a thing. Her response really got me. Addie says that Bertha betrayed her by not telling her that their other friend was getting married, because said friend had cut her off and asked people not to give Addie info on her. So she did show up and stood on the sidewalk to make sure that the bride saw her. And because of this, she's not sorry about confronting Bertha if she feels Bertha deserves it. She brought up that Bertha has XYZ person as her fiancé and that she thinks she's better than anyone because of her huge company. I have no info on that. We had a back and forth over this because this sounds like a boundary situation. Addie turned on me and said that I did nothing to support her during the get-together. And what good is it to have a relationship if I'm not doing much to help her feel comfortable? I walked away from our bench and left her to walk home. About 8 minutes. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot just from the pizza incident, alone before the wedding was even known. It's clear that Addie misrepresented the type of entitled, petty, and overall toxic and possibly mentally unstable person that she really is. Someone who crashes a wedding and goes off over $5 does not have a harm none character. Comment 2. Not the idiot at all for walking on the date. Addie showed you who she was. Glad you were paying attention. Normally, I'd say gentle, you're the idiot for leaving someone in a park to walk home by themselves, but given what was said, why linger? Comment 3. Not the idiot. You were actually the mature one for walking away instead of continuing to argue with Addie. You just got a glimpse of your future with this woman. You should run away from her like you are on fire. Now, for the update. All right, you're not going to believe what happened in the last 2 weeks. So, I've been keeping my distance from Addie since the pizza fiasco, until she called me out of the blue, crying, saying she needed to talk. I thought she was going to apologize for her behavior, but boy was I wrong. So, we met at this quiet cafe and she started confessing a bunch of things. First, she admitted that she'd known all along that Bertha hadn't skimmed the pizza money. She had lied about it because she was jealous of Bertha's engagement and success, and she wanted to find a way to get some attention. As messed up as this was, I was willing to work through it. But then, she dropped another bombshell. She confessed that she'd been secretly seeing Bertha's fiancé behind her back. I was floored. Addie and Bertha had been best friends since forever, and she had been betraying her like that? And then to top all of that, she accused Bertha of stealing pizza money? My head was spinning. Then she said she wanted to come clean because she was now pregnant with Bertha's fiancé's child. This had to be a joke, right? But no, she pulled out an ultrasound image from her bag. She was indeed pregnant. I was at a loss for words. I told her she needed to confess everything to Bertha, but then she said something that really blew me away. She asked me if I could pretend to be the father of the child. She said she didn't want to ruin Bertha's life and that she'd break up with Bertha's fiancé and we could raise the child together. I told her that was absolutely out of the question. I wasn't going to play a part in this disastrous soap opera she'd created. I walked out of the cafe, leaving her in tears. On my way out, I ran into Bertha's fiancé, a moment of divine intervention, I guess. I told him everything Addie had confessed. He looked shocked and hurt, but also somewhat relieved. He admitted he'd been trying to find a way to break off the engagement because he was in love with Addie. I advised him that both he and Addie owed Bertha the truth. I don't know if they ever confessed. I washed my hands off the entire situation and cut all ties with Addie. It's been a wild couple of weeks, to say the least. Now, for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. You did the right thing by refusing to be a part of Addie's deception. Lying about the paternity of a child is a serious matter and can cause emotional harm to all parties involved. It's also commendable that you encouraged Addie and Bertha's fiancé to be honest with Bertha. It's better for the truth to come out sooner rather than later. 2. Not the idiot. It's clear you're trying to navigate a complex and challenging situation. It is certainly not your responsibility to cover for Addie's mistakes. It's unfortunate that she's gotten herself into this predicament, but it's not fair for her to drag you into it. Encouraging honesty in this situation is absolutely the right call. 3. Not the idiot. There's a lot to unpack here, but you've handled it ethically. It's not your job to protect Addie or Bertha's fiancé from the fallout of their actions, and you made the right call by refusing to participate in their deception. You also did the right thing by telling Bertha's fiancé to confess. It's going to hurt, but in the long run, honesty is the best policy. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.